Okay, everybody, welcome to our second round news conference. Our postgame news conference as fifth-seeded Baylor defeats fourth-seeded Virginia Tech 75-72 to advance in Portland Region 3. For Baylor, this will be its 15th appearance in the Sweet 16. As a courtesy to your fellow media members, as well as the coaches and student athletes, please silence your cell phones at this time. Please provide your name and media affiliation the first time you ask a question. And if you're joining us on Zoom, please use the raise hand function, and we will address your questions via Zoom. I will open up to an opening statement from head coach Nicki Collen.
Definitely not surprised that you had two teams, a 4 and a 5 seed, that were so closely matched. I think when you look at the stats, you can really see how closely matched. They made more threes, we made more free throws. But I just thought it was a competitive game. Nobody got out with more than about a 6 or 8 point lead, and I just thought these guys battled. It was amazing environment. Fans were amazing, really amazing. I thought their execution late, the threes that Amor hit, both off the glass and that last one, were pretty incredible and speak to how talented she is. But I thought these guys led us today. Obviously, Jada did it in the second half, and Sarah really did it in the first half. I thought Sarah really kept us comfortable when Jada was in foul trouble, and then obviously Jada was unbelievable down the stretch.
Okay, let's open it up to questions for the student athletes. Right.
Sam Ostow, the Collegiate Times. For both of you, what was the mindset going into the last 20 seconds when Virginia Tech cut it a little bit closer and you guys had to lock down the stretch?
We'll start with Jada.
Really just to take care of the ball down the stretch. We did a good play that got me open and got an and one, but really just taking care of the ball and not giving up threes. I know she got one off, but it was a tough one, and that happened in March, so I'm glad we got to pull off the win.
First row.
Coach Collins, your team hit some big free throws in the fourth quarter. Do you think the slow start in the first quarter was because of the environment, or was it just nerves? Or?
Yeah, I don't know that we got off to that slowest start. I mean, we missed some free throws, but I thought it was super competitive. I thought
That's a question for the student athletes only.
All right, we'll get back to that later.
We'll get back to that. Yeah, student athletes only. We'll go Joey, Tim, and then Mark, and then Zach. Joey, Tim, Mark, then Zach.
This is Zach.
Tim, yeah.
Joey. Me. I got it. We figured it out. Jada, you played absolutely out of your mind. And you seem to really frustrate Virginia Tech in just about every facet of your game. What's going through your head, as the game progresses and you're just continuously making shot after shot and frustrating Tech as much as you were?
Really just one play at a time. It was working for me down the stretch. I was hitting shots, and I'm glad I was, because I haven't been early on in the season, but now is the time where it's crunch time. You got to hit shots in order for us to win, and I did, Sarah did, a lot of our teammates did, and we got stops down the stretch that helped us. So.
Tim.
How much more does it mean to get to the Sweet 16 by playing games here in your home state?
It means a lot. I was not leaving Virginia with a loss, so I'm glad we got to get a W and we get to go back to Waco and game plan and get ready for the Sweet 16. So.
Mark and then Zach.
Jada, Mark Berman of the Roanoke Times. You did a pretty nifty job of dribbling there with 12 seconds to go to kind of make it about 6 seconds before they fouled you. What was kind of going through your mind during that time? And also then could you talk about, you got your team's defense with 1.3 seconds to go after they inbounded?
Well, practice this past week that we had coming here, we really worked on end-of-game situations, and that was a play that we ran, so I'm glad that it worked and we got to score. But really our defense was just on point. We knew where shooters were. They did hit tough shots, but, I mean, like I said, again, that happens. I feel like Sarah did a phenomenal job on the shooters, getting over screens. Bella was blocking shots from everywhere, so I feel like we all were just on point all over the floor today. Yeah, I like to play tag in practice. I just run around and try to dodge everybody before the time runs out. And I'm a pretty good ball handler, so.
Sarah, has Jada been kind of building up to a kind of a second half of performance like this? Have you seen this, from her before this game?
Oh, yeah, I think I saw it at the beginning of the year, Texas. I can go on and on. I'm just super proud of Jada. She was frustrated at first, I think, a little bit. They were calling the game kind of close at the beginning. She picked up 2 early ones. But the way she came out in the second half, I was like, Jada, you're built for this. Like, this is the moment you've been waiting for. And I'm just super proud of her for fighting through it.
Joey and then Zach again.
In a game like this where it seems like the referees, if it's even a borderline close to a foul, that they're going to call the foul, what's the strategy that kind of goes through your head in a game like that?
You got to make adjustments. You got to see the way that they're calling the game. You got to adjust to it. And we saw that they were calling fouls, and we started attacking downhill. We got some of those same calls, so you just got to make adjustments. And you can't control the whistle, but you got to play.
Zach, go ahead.
Sarah, again, Coach Collen mentioned, your first half. I guess how important was it for you personally to kind of start strong and kind of find your shot?
That was I felt like really almost the first time that I've seen the ball go through the hoop like that. I think I played at all levels. I finished at the rim. Gonna be better at free throws, but overall, I think me and Jada put together 2 halves. I was like, Jada, I got the first half. Now it's your turn. But no, this team, I think everybody just did a phenomenal job. We never got down. We stuck together even when they went on runs, and we just fed off the crowd energy. Playing in the gym like this, you got to feed off their energy, and we got to silence them, so it was a fun game.
Gio.
Giovanni Heater, 3304 Sports. Sarah, for you, you played on this team back in 2021 when you beat Virginia Tech in the second round to go to the Sweet 16. Now, as a leader of this team, how are you able to lead in that locker room showing, hey, I know what it takes to advance past the first weekend?
Just honestly, when they went on runs, just hearing my voice and telling the team, hey, we're fine. They're a great team. We never not expected them to go on runs. We knew they were going to make threes. They have great players. But us sticking together and communicating, I think, is a thing that we did very well tonight. We took coaching. I was just like, hey, we're fine. We've been here before. Let's just stick together and come out with a W.
Last 2 questions, Tim, then Zach.
Tim Thomas from the Tech Lunch Pail. You guys held Virginia Tech to 32% from three-point range. Obviously, that's a strength of you guys as your perimeter defense. What was clicking for you guys to kind of contain them so well?
We've been practicing this all week, like I said, chasing people around screens, getting around screens however we can. If we had to switch, Coach Tony was like, switch everything. Just don't let them get an open shot off. If they hit it over your hand, okay, that's going to happen. But at the end of the day, we did what we had to do to stop them from hitting as many threes as winning. So,
Jada, do you get nervous? Some of those, free throws at the very end there, the crowd is going crazy and they didn't hit the rim. What's going through your mind? Are you just blacked out at that point? Do you get nervous?
A little, but like Sarah told me all throughout the game, I'm made for these moments, and that really gave me confidence to step up there and knock them down and just clear out the noise. We're going to be at home. We're going to be away sometimes, so really just playing through that, playing through the refs, playing through whatever we have to play through to win. So,
Jada and Sarah, thank you for your time. Congratulations and best of luck in the second round. The Baylor locker room will be open till approximately 10:53. 10:53 for the Baylor locker room. Let's open it up to questions for Coach Collen. And we'll start with Chad and then Joey.
Hey, Coach. Chad Bothering, KWTX over here.
Hey, Chad.
Hey, what's up? Well, first time for you at Baylor to go to the Sweet 16. How much do you think personally you needed this win?
All right, first of all, I haven't been here that long, so you made me feel like I'd been there 10 years. It felt good. I thought, I think knowing we were so close to hosting, you kind of had to get over that, but then you had to embrace this opportunity. I thought we had the pieces to be really effective against them, and I didn't think we got off to a slow start. When you look at, we scored 21 points in that first quarter. I thought Sarah helped us be really, really comfortable. I thought we got downhill early, got some layups, scored around the rim off our out-of-bounds plays. So we got some easy ones. I thought we missed some easy ones. I thought had we made free throws, we could have created more separation. That was probably my biggest frustration. Dre's a really good free throw shooter. Sarah's a really good free throw shooter. But it just feels good to celebrate with that group of girls. Like, we started this journey, in July, really summer school. But when we went overseas and played, and it was all about building camaraderie to get to this point, to win these close games. And, when Georgia's shot banked in, when you play great defense and it banks in, you're like, no, that's not fair. It's really not fair. But I thought we did a good job, and I thought in particular, I didn't make a lot of play calls. I mean, it should have been obvious. Like we were going to get Sarah and we were going to get Jada in ball screens and make them guard us in ball screens. And, we felt like we could really attack, in particular, their fives in ball screens. And I thought we did a good job of that, picking up some fouls on Strack. But I thought we stayed composed. I know everyone thinks I was a little uncomposed, but the reality was I was just frustrated with the lack of, information. I'll call it that. Lack of information, We had about 17 clock errors and things like that all of a sudden, that's frustrating. That doesn't usually happen when people are out of timeout. So, I think from that perspective, I just wanted it bad, but I didn't want it for me. It's never been about me at Baylor. It's about these players. It's about this program. It's about competing at a high level, and I've never feared coaching in a big moment. Kenny Brooks is an amazing play caller. And you do fear a one-possession game against him because he's a talented play caller. But I thought our girls did a good job, even down to taking the foul late when we had a foul to give.
Okay, Joey.
Hi, Coach.
And then Zach.
Yesterday you had talked about how this isn't your team playing against 5 people. This is your team playing against 10,005 people. Can you just elaborate on how much the crowd affected you? And then just a second question, and you kind of already alluded to it. It seemed like you were very energetic when it came to talking to the refs. And can you just kind of elaborate more so on kind of what's going through that conversation and kind of, just how that was going?
Well, I think there's multiple questions there, obviously. I think the first one, I don't know if Jada was nervous or not, but that's about as loud, I believe, in her life that she's ever had to shoot a free throw there at the end of the game when it was a 1-point game to make it a 3-point game. Like, this place was roaring, and every time they would hit a three, the place would absolutely erupt. And so I think you always feel like you have to be at least 10 points better on the road. And I think crowds affect officials. They're human. I firmly believe that. I think officials are human and the energy of the game. And I firmly believe that was an intentional foul. And I know you don't want to call that late in the game, but that was my belief, that she wrapped her up when she got around her. And so, when it feels like a dangerous play, yeah, I'm going to battle for my kid because I think that's the right play in that situation. And I think that's a tough thing, of course, but you get to the NCAA tournament, and all of a sudden, every time we put our hands, both ways, but it was 5-0 to start the game 3 minutes into the game on fouls, and my point guard, who had 28 points in 26 minutes, was sitting on the bench. So I think I'm pretty sure Kenny would be frustrated if his point guard was sitting on the bench. So I think from that perspective, it's a consistency of calls is all you want, and then you want communication, I think those are 3 really good officials. I've had all of them, but I think when it's really loud in there, and you can't communicate with them, I think that can be frustrating. And I think the game, we obviously shot more free throws because we're a team that attacks the basket more. I mean, that's a great three-point shooting team, and they want to drive it and spray it out to three-point shooters. And so we knew our advantage was getting to the rim and drawing fouls. So, when the game was called really tic-tac at the beginning, that's frustrating when you're trying to play an aggressive style defense.
Okay, Zach, then Mark.
Coach, do you think Hey, Coach. Do you think, were you surprised that Jada had a performance like that in her?
It's crazy. She's had an unbelievable week of practice. When we went back to kind of the drawing board between the Big 12 tournament and the NCAA announcement, we just spent hours getting shots up, very little practice time and hours getting shots up, because when we were really good early in the season, our defense was good, but our offense was top 10 in the country and sharing the ball and shooting threes and all that. And I just felt like we'd lost some of our confidence. And I think for Jada, when you looked at when we were 14-0, and you compared that to when we were 10-7, and some of it's level of competition. But included in that was Utah and Texas and Miami and a lot of really good teams. And so, she'd gotten really frustrated with our inability to make open threes. We just told her, take your jump shot. Your jump shot's a layup. Your jump shot's a layup. Mix in, playing off the bounce, getting to 15 feet. And so she's just had really good practices dialed into getting to her jump shot. And so I just thought when she made one, then it was two, and it just they kept backing up on her because she's so slippery. If you come up on her, she's going to cross you up and get to the rim. So I thought she did an unbelievable job playing against an All-American point guard.
Can you talk about your defense when they inbounded the ball with 1.3 seconds to go? What you feel like helped you guys make it so tough for them to get a shot off?
Yeah, I think we got a piece, obviously, which obviously helps. We were switching everything. Certainly, when it was 0.8, it's a totally different than really 1.8. 1.8, you can get a dribble. From that perspective, I think, both teams being out of timeouts, I think in that scenario, like we wanted to switch everything out and contest without fouling. You question, you hit a point. Every coach has a philosophy of whether you foul in that situation, whether you don't, but not under 3 seconds, because most of the time the person that catches the ball is going to be moving towards the basket rather than away from the basket. So we just wanted to play high hands, and we got a piece of it. So that was, ultimately I don't know who it was supposed to go to because the ball got tipped.
Will Lockwood, the Tech Lunch Pail. You gave Virginia Tech their first home loss since 2022. What kind of goes into your players showcasing that level of togetherness that they did down the stretch to pull off a feat like that?
We went into Texas and beat Texas the last 2 years. We played Iowa State close in front of 10,000 fans. We don't do it game in and game out. But, I don't think if you look at our schedule and how we've performed on the road against top 25 teams, we've got a lot of kids that live for these moments, that really enjoy these environments. And I do too. You don't spend 5 years in the pros and not get used to playing in close games and time and score and advance and timeouts and using them and utilizing them and running good plays, And I think, I'm at my happiest when I'm in a competitive game. When we're up big and I'm managing minutes and trying to figure out who to get shots for, that's way more stressful for me than a one-possession game. Because you're trying to keep too many kids happy in that situation. And in this situation, you're focused on one thing and one thing only, getting stops and putting the ball in the basket and how you do it. And so I just think we've got a group of competitors, Bella and Bugs got to play at UConn last year, and we played them really well for 2.5 quarters, and they were freshmen, So I think we've got a lot of players that just, love this environment, there's nothing much better than being a kid that hits a shot and silences a crowd when they're roaring. It's almost better than making a shot at home and someone cheering for you. It's the silencing that if you're a competitor is way better.
Coach, we've talked about all week, this team doesn't necessarily have an All-American, Bella goes off first game and now it's Jada's game. How much of an asset do you think that could be, that quality of your team could be for, this team throughout the rest of the tournament?
I think it comes down to, I'm grateful for the kids that believed in me and chose Baylor. Every kid on this team chose Baylor, and they chose me, including Sarah, because Sarah chose to stay when she could have gone anywhere. And I think what Sarah wouldn't tell you is she didn't impact the game a whole lot her freshman year when she played against Virginia Tech, but she was a difference maker tonight. And so, I'm just excited to play to mismatches. At the end of the day, my job is to put them in position to be successful. And tonight, it was getting Jada in as many ball screens as I could get her in the second half. And so I think that's the uniqueness about our team. It's as the game's unfolding, it's how do I get shots for particular players, And against Vanderbilt, it was Bella. Let's swing it and let's kick it out. And, I think our defense was, we probably made about 5 really bad defensive mistakes tonight. Things that they knew, they put their hand up immediately and was like, I'm not supposed to do that. I'm not supposed to help on the drive because they want to throw the drift, you know? And I think if you take those plays away, our competitive spirit all night was amazing, you know? And so I think they know. You know, I'm really careful to say this the right way because we may not have a first-team all-conference player on our team. We may not have an All-American on our team. But that doesn't mean we don't have great players. And I think it's really important because I remember my first year in the WNBA, we had no Olympians, and it was an Olympic year. And it was like, it was so offensive to our players to hear, like, we have no Olympians. It's like, what are we? Like, and so I'm always really careful to get them to understand that any of these guys could be stars on other teams, but it's about their selflessness to get the ball to the most open person. You know, when you see 12 teammates chanting Jada after the game, like, that's what you want. You don't want them to be frustrated that they were 0 for 5. You want them to be happy for the kid, you know, that made the and one, that made the big play late. So, you know, I think it makes you hard to guard at times because we can move the ball and a lot of people can score the basketball and you can't key in on one person. That was a long answer, but thanks for letting me go.
Thanks for being here with us.
All right.
Best of luck in the Portland Regional against
Thank
either
you.
USC or Kansas next weekend.
All right.
All right, that's head coach Nicki Collen.
you.
Virginia Tech head coach Kenny Brooks and Virginia Tech student athletes will be up next. The Baylor locker room is open until roughly 10:53. Thank you. I don't yet.